said them, but that was the most incredible voiceover, and I love the optimism. Even when things seem at their worst, they're actually way better. I would much rather live here and now than in the Mongol Empire, let's just say, or other places. With that, I would love to welcome Professor Kathy Wolf from the University of Washington. The esteemed Professor Wolf. I will come up the slides in one moment, and come on up and give your intro, and I'll get your slides going.
Everyone. How are y'all doing? Good to hear, huh? Yeah. I love this turnout. It's a very damp evening after yesterday. It's beautiful, but here you all are, and I really appreciate that. I'm now semi-retired, but I've been working at the University of Washington for decades, and my research and teaching has been about the human dimensions of trees and nature in cities, nearby nature. We have some of the most splendid outdoor spaces, the Olympics, the coast, Mount Rainier, and so on. And yet, what I'm going to talk about is why we need trees in our neighborhoods, in our city, in our communities. Because those peak experiences, they're part of our identity, they're part of what we are. But we need the nature around us. And last week, I was at the World Forum on Urban Forestry. And Weston projected a mood or a tone of optimism. The optimism at this meeting, people from all over the world that are doing incredible things in their respective towns, cities, and nations. And, trees are about hope. If you plant a tree, you're hopeful. We know the survival rate, well, whatever. But we have that intention. And so, please, next. What I'd like to share with you in just a few minutes is a very quick overview. Most of you know far more than I do about how, the how of policy, the how of planting programs, tree management. What I talk about is why do we need trees in our communities. And before I forget, and I'll stop waving around these documents, there's a few copies on the table back there, but one is Nature. These are both from the Nature Conservancy. They were published there and available as PDFs. One is Nature's Riches, and it translates what I'll talk about here, the evidence of trees and nature and health, to some economic terms. The other out there is Outside Our Doors. Again, nearby nature, the importance of immediately being able to step out of our home, our business, our school, and encounter these sorts of things. And one last pitch. I'll get this open. It's sticky because of the rain. There is an urban forestry symposium at the University of Washington on November 2nd with an emphasis on a theme of indigenous peoples and our potential partnership, as Weston alluded to. So let me start with why. Because they're good for us in so many ways. And you know this. You feel this intuitively, but I want to recount some of the evidence. And nearly 40 years of research has been exploring this relationship, this connection to nearby nature. Thousands of studies from all over the world. And we had a recounting of some of the most recent research at this World Forum last week. But very quickly, and I know maybe no more than the first two tables can see this slide, but let me run through it. On the left there, the different types of nature exposure. Wildness, of course, but engineered nature, bioswales, rain gardens. Think of all of these places that we build and develop as potential small or micro parks that can influence health. Built environments, of course, and then any sort of blend of design, engineering, construction. What are the various responses? Well, sounds, views, sun, vitamin D, ecodiversity, microbiodiversity. We're understanding the uptake, particularly of children, and how that influences the microbiome, and the important implications for their immune systems, not only when they're small, but potentially through their life cycle. Physical and mental states. So as we proceed here, we're seeing more and more of how we respond to these nature encounters. And we're often not conscious of this. Sometimes these reactions, as determined in labs and different experimental situations, they happen very quickly, and we're not necessarily conscious of it. But nonetheless, physical and mental states, more relaxation, better immune function, more healing, less stress, less adrenaline, less cortisol, which is an indicator, a bioindicator of stress. Improved behaviors. People are more likely to be physically active if there are green spaces, places that are compatible to be out, moving about, walking, cycling, and so on. Better mental focus. Important for schools, businesses, places where people have to think, calculate, pay attention, all of that. And finally, over on the far right, the health outcomes. Kind of the broader, the term that public health officials use is morbidity, reduced morbidity. Cardiovascular disease, reduced COVID infections, reduced ADHD, and so on and so forth. And these sorts of benefits, when I started doing this research and collaborating with people in different places, we would publish these results and people would say, wow, well, really? We now have, again, thousands of articles, thousands of studies that have been done to generate the evidence support of these various outcomes. And an article, if you wish to pull this down, it's available on the web, no cost, it's open source or open access, and we specifically, a team of us, did a review of the articles that focus on trees, city trees. And there's some great things in there. I can't possibly go into all the detail, but you'll see similarities to what I said about the more general or broader research about nearby nature and health. And what we see across these articles and across this research is a wide variety of situations, tree and nature situations. So it may be more wild, it may be more engineered, it may be more constructed. The architect that is developing these vertical forests is doing this work in Italy, and it's now happening in China, it's happening in Northern Europe. He puts up these ideas and occasionally a structure, and people look at them and go, wow, really, we can do that. So there's sort of creativity markers that he's dropping in cities all around the world. But it comes right down to green schoolyards as well. Places where kids can hang out, outdoor classrooms, get a break from the classroom, including some schools are now pulling natural materials into the classrooms for an ongoing experience. Another way to look at this, something that people seem to connect to and understand as a concept, is the nature pyramid. And what we're looking at here is at the base, the scale is neighborhood, and by virtue of that, greater frequency and duration of nature experience. Ongoing up the pyramid on the left, regional, national, international experiences and trips. And then on the right is that frequency, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, and so on. And I'm guessing this crew, you enjoy nature travel. I have a daughter who's a wilderness guide in Alaska, the experiences that we've had as she takes us out and look at bears and glaciers and all sorts of things, big experiences. But this is what counts throughout the year, every day. Frequent experiences of trees, gardens, and parks. All right, so how do we translate this to policy? And again, some of you know far more about this. You've been working on it for a very long time. But Cecil Benedict is an urban forestry scholar based in Northern Europe, and he is now sharing this with planners, and that is 3, 30, 300. Say after me. 3, 30, 300. What does that mean? Everyone can see 3 trees from their home. Every community or residential community has 30% canopy. Everyone is within 300 meters or 300 yards of a green space, a park, and open space. And Cecil has been publishing about this, talking about this. It's a quick uptake. It's something you can share with a planner or a policy person and say, yeah, it's ambitious, but hey, why not? Let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do. Next, please. And then another idea is to be more intentional where we plant trees for health and for climate. So we can put out trees wherever there are plantable spaces, but what we're seeing in this research is a little more intention can help us to boost those health benefits even more. So views from within, that really connects to Cecil's 3 trees idea. Creating refuge. So yes, having trees in our cities might cool things in the summer when we're having that peak heat. But if we create small nodes, thermal refuges, create places where people can be outside, where it's cooler, where the air is more humid and more comfortable. We can't stay indoors in the air conditioning for days or weeks on end. So thermal refuge is one idea. This article again, Grieving Blocks. Sarah Barron is the lead author, open access, if you'd like to download that and take a look. Next, please. I'll end this with, of course, save the big trees. And what I was told some time ago, the very brief history of Seattle is log off, log on. Log off apparently has not ended. Yet, Weston shared with us a historic trajectory of canopy increase. We can maintain that, perhaps grow it more. That's what you are all interested in. I was recently introduced to a book about elder flora. Flora meaning plants, elder, of course, you know what that means. Let's campaign for preservation, conservation of our elder flora. Thank you.